This review is brought to you by Boxu. More about them later on in the video. I didn't really build a lot of kits in 2021, and out of the few kits that I did build, the real grade High Nu Gundam was the only one that actually came out in 2021. Because this was the only kit that I built, I felt kind of weird doing any kind of best kits of 2021 style video because, well, I only built one kit. However, I really enjoyed building the High Nu Gundam, and it's now one of my favorite models, so I was curious to see how it stacked up to the rest of the community. So I made a few polls in my community tab, and amazingly, not only did you guys think the real grade High Nu Gundam was the best real grade of 2021 by a wide margin, but you also voted it the best kit of 2021 overall. Now, I already knew this model was great, having built it myself. However, I thought my own personal love of the High Nu Gundam was maybe skewing my perspective on it a little bit, and it wasn't really the best Gundam of the year. The more I thought about it though, the more it made sense that this was not only the best kit of 2021, but in my opinion, the best real grade kit that we have ever gotten. So the real grade High Nu Gundam was the first of the newer style real grades that I've built that pretty much completely abandoned the older style pre-built real grade inner frame. Now this was a decision that a lot of people weren't really that happy with, and I can kind of see where they're coming from, but the reality is we've gotten a lot of real grade kits that use that style of frame, and to me at least, the novelty's kind of worn off. And the High Nu Gundam is a fantastic demonstration of just what Bandai can accomplish when they stop tying themselves down to such a restrictive frame design. Not only is the High Nu Gundam's frame durable and posable, but it's so much more detailed than the classic style real grade frame. A lot of the bulky proportions of this kit are carried by the frame, and the level of internal detail on it is absolutely incredible, even by master grade standards. And to top it all off, the cherry on top is the lovely, lovely silver and gold accents throughout the inner frame, accenting parts like joints and pistons to give it that extra layer of depth. And all of this is done while still retaining the classic real grade style shifting armor. The build experience continues to be fantastic once you start adding armor on top of this frame, with the funnels being a bit repetitive since you have to make 6 of them, but there's really not anything that could have been done about that. Now when it comes to the design of the High Nu Gundam, there's really 2 different designs that Bandai generally goes for. There's the classic design from the original novel with its beefy, powerful proportions and light purple color scheme, and then there's the modern design with its sleeker proportions, darker blue color scheme, and striped shield. I've always known the High Nu Gundam more so from its modernized design, and this is the version of the High Nu that I generally prefer. However, I do still like some elements of the original design. Most of the models of the High Nu Gundam that we've gotten in the past try to recreate one of these designs or the other, but the real grade brings them both together into the ultimate High Nu Gundam design. It's got those powerful, beefy proportions from the original High Nu. It's got the stripy blue color scheme of the modern design. The rear stabilizer in the middle of the backpack is even able to transform between 2 different forms, one more akin to the original design and one more like the redesign. All of these elements are merged together masterfully, and the High Nu Gundam has never looked better. Bandai tried a fresh take on the classic real grade multi-tone armor by adding some light purple accents to some of the blue areas of the model. Not only does this call back to the original High Nu Gundam's color scheme, but it also modernizes the newer design in a really fresh and exciting way. Even straight out of the box, this model looks absolutely amazing. However, it is worth noting that you're probably going to want to get an action base to go with it. The kit can be balanced on the rear fuel tanks, but that only works for some poses and the joints will loosen up over time. I'd recommend an action base too, as the later models are too flimsy and don't really give you enough control over how the stand arm is posed. One of the few things that does kind of annoy me about this kit is the way the funnels mount onto the backpack. The mounting connection to the backpack itself is fine, but there's nothing to actually tab the funnels themselves together. The tips of the funnels don't really like to sit flush because of this, and it's kind of annoying. Aside from that though, this kit looks beautiful. Ever since the start of the real grade line, it's been kind of a cliche to refer to them as 1/144th master grades, but with all the evolution and changes the line has gone through over the years, that is really what it has become. And as someone who's primarily a 1/144th scale collector, I could not be happier. Giving a comprehensive demonstration of this kit's articulation would be exhausting, so I'm going to keep this brief. Everything that you would expect to move on a modern kit has at minimum the range of motion that you're expecting. On top of this, many of the joints have additional gimmicks that allow for even more movement. The back of the helmet rotates out of the way so we can look up farther. The elbows can be bent forwards or inwards depending on how you orient the joints. The abs have a double hinge that can be unfurled and give the kit an insane amount of forward and back ab movement. The torso tips side to side where it meets the hips, bringing the skirt armor out with it. The skirts themselves have an insane amount of movement, being able to completely move out of the way of the hips, and then we come to the hips themselves. The hips on this kit have the classic MG style swing down gimmick, but the process of unlocking it is far more complex. This is probably one of my least favorite things about posing this kit because, while the end result is incredibly secure, I'd rather not have to go through a 10-step process just to adjust a joint. And then beyond basic articulation, we have the gimmicks, and man does this kit have a lot of gimmicks. The aforementioned stabilizer can be transformed into 2 different modes to represent both versions of the Hi-Nu. The thrusters on the funnel mounts rotate in tandem with the outermost funnels. The beam saber hilts are hidden in the backpack. There's a third saber in a hidden compartment in one of the arms. The other arm has a machine gun inside of it that pops out when you bend the wrist. The cockpit hatch opens up in 2 different ways. All 6 funnels are completely functional. The knees even have pistons in them that are not only fully molded in gold and silver, but also move in and out when you bend the knee. Again, this is a real grade. And finally, the biggest gimmick of the Hi-Nu is the many opening hatches and moving panels all around the body that can be opened up for an open hatch experience that gives some perfect grades a run for their money. Do you see why I love this kit yet? Now, the Hi-Nu Gundam does come with a few different weapons and accessories. The first of which is his rifle, which is very heavily redesigned from the classic Hi-Nu Gundam look. It's a pretty extreme redesign, but I really like how it turned out. The bazooka is a bazooka. It's got some cool moving parts, and it's got really nice color separation, but outside of being able to clip onto the backpack, it doesn't really do much of anything cool. The beam saber handles that I mentioned earlier do come with a pair of lovely blue beam saber blades, and while I do still love the look of the blue sabers, I am a little bit disappointed that they removed one of my favorite accessories from the high-grade Hi-Nu Gundam. The high-grade kit came with this really cool double-ended beam saber that had a shorter blade on one side and a longer blade on the other, and this was my favorite weapon to display the kit with. You can take the saber from the high-grade and put it in the hands of the real grade, but it really should have come with the kit in the first place. Finally, the kit includes 3 sets of hands in closed fist, open hand, and weapon holding poses. Oh, and then he has a trigger finger hand for the right side only. And finally, we have the Hi-Nu Gundam's iconic shield, looking amazing as always. Before we go any further, I'd appreciate it if you just listen for a minute while I tell you about this video's sponsor, Boxu. Boxu is a premium Japanese snack box subscription that ships you assorted Japanese snacks and tea pairings. Each month's box has a different theme, such as New Year's, Sakura, or Mochi. Boxu works with traditional Japanese snack makers to bring you amazing snacks from all over the country. While each month normally has its own theme, when you sign up, the first box you get is the Seasons of Japan, a box filled with all sorts of goodies themed around the changing seasons. Some of these items are even made exclusively for Boxu and can't be found anywhere else. My personal favorites from the Seasons of Japan box were the red bean crackers, the seaweed tempura chips, and the dango mochi. The seaweed chips had a surprisingly refreshing taste thanks to just a dash of sudachi, a citrus fruit that I've never heard of before. And the mochi was absolutely amazing. I'd heard of mochi before, but this was my first time ever actually trying it.
Oh wow, that's soft.
Oh wow. This is so freaking good. Get your own Boxu subscription by following the link in the description and use the code on screen to get 10% off your own authentic Japanese snack box subscription. Thank you to Boxu for sponsoring this video, and now, back to the Hi-Nu. The real grade Hi-Nu Gundam is a fantastic kit. Everything from the colors to the proportions to the details to the gimmicks to the articulation, it's all absolutely amazing. Is it perfect? No. The way the funnels don't tab together is kind of annoying, and I wish it came with the double-bladed saber. And with how complicated some of the joints can be, posing it can be a little frustrating. But at the end of the day, the Hi-Nu is still one of the best kits that I've ever built, and it is by far the best real grade. So this is the part of the video where I'd tell you to go out and get it for yourself, but unfortunately that's easier said than done nowadays. Gunpla availability right now isn't much better than it was a year ago, and this kit is almost constantly out of stock. You might be able to find a few Amazon sellers trying to offload this thing for absolutely outrageous prices, but I would definitely not recommend that. Because this kit is so hard to find right now, this might be the first time that I've ever recommended buying a kit over MSRP. While this is supposed to be only around a $55 kit, if you can find a real grade Hi-Nu for $75 or less, get it. Yes, that is a bit more than it's supposed to cost, but at the end of the day, the Hi-Nu is well worth it. I'd recommend staking out your local hobby shops, as I have seen some people get lucky that way. Ultimately though, this isn't a kit that Bandai is going to stop printing anytime soon, so if you are patient enough, you will be able to find one, whether it be today or 2 years from now. Patience is an essential skill in Gunpla, and it's not always just for building. This video is a long time coming, but I'm glad it's finally out there. Leave a like if you enjoyed, and subscribe for more Gundam and Gunpla content. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'm Second Soundwave, and I'll see you next time. Take care, guys.